Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And I'm going to bring you an interesting article. We'll start this video off with an interesting article that I saw on the Facebook. Occasionally, friends of mine post the articles that I've been reading every single day for the last couple of years. Articles about we have 12 years left to save ourselves, or, the Arctic is, almost melted, it's almost gone. And they'll post these articles and they'll have one word. It'll be like, gosh, or, oh no, 2 words. Things like that, every single time they post something like that. So my friend posted this and she was like, well, it's been nice knowing you, and posted this article. And then some climate denial, libertarian jerk off, whatever. I don't know if he's libertarian, but he's, got on the post and started talking about, all the things in the climate, all the changes in the climate are being caused by the shift in the, magnetosphere, right? In the shift of the poles. So that's one of the climate denial points, is like, oh, the magnetosphere is shifting. So that's causing climate disruption. It is shifting a little bit, but global warming is far outweighing, same with the solar minimum. There would be a solar minimum. However, we've heated the planet so much that we're overwhelming whatever solar minimum is happening. So it's not happening, because we've already, the solar minimum from the sun is happening, but we are knocking it out of the park. And we're also knocking out, whatever kind of destruction might be done by a pole shift or whatever, we're far outpacing that. So he got on the Facebook post and was like, oh, don't worry about it. The climate changes, and then the changes back, and this happens and I was like, Jesus Christ, dude. So I had to get on there and run him down the whole thing, look, no, that's, and I had to tell my friend, no, actually we are screwed, and I'm sorry to tell you that. And so public admission of, us being basically screwed on Facebook. She didn't have anything to say back to me, right? There was no response. No, oh, damn, I thought, because this guy was telling her that everything's fine, and she was like, oh, really? Oh, great. She was totally willing to be like, oh, yeah. And I feel like a jerk for popping that bubble, but I had to just say, this is the truth. Man, I've rambled for a long time. This is from Forbes. We have 5 years to save ourselves from climate change, Harvard scientists say. Whoa, we've gone from 100 years all the way down to 12 years. Ooh, 5 years. Guys, this is by Jeff McMahon. People have the misapprehension that we can recover from this state just by reducing carbon emissions, Anderson says. I'm guessing he's talking about Kevin Anderson. Oh, James Anderson. The level of carbon now in the atmosphere hasn't been seen in 12 million years, a Harvard scientist said in Chicago Thursday, and this pollution is rapidly pushing the climate back to its state in the Eocene epoch, more than 33 million years ago, when there was no ice on either pole. We have exquisite information about what that state is, because we have a paleo record going back millions of years when the Earth had no ice at either pole. There was almost no temperature difference between the equator and the pole, said James Anderson, a Harvard University professor of atmospheric chemistry, best known for establishing that chlorofluorocarbons were damaging the ozone layer. I didn't know that, James Anderson. Thank you. The ocean was running almost 10 Celsius warmer all the way to the bottom than it is today, Anderson said of this once and future climate, and the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere would have meant that storm systems would be violent in the extreme, because water vapor, which is an exponential function of water temperature, is the gasoline that fuels the frequency and intensity of storm systems. People have the misapprehension that we can recover from this state just by reducing carbon emissions, Anderson said in an appearance at the University of Chicago. Recovery is all but impossible, he argued, without a World War II style transformation of industry, transformation or nationalization. We need squash. An acceleration of the effort to halt carbon pollution and remove it from the atmosphere, and a new effort to reflect sunlight away from the Earth's poles. This has to be done, Anderson added, within the next 5 years. The chance that there will be any permanent ice left in the Arctic after 2022 is essentially zero, Anderson said, with 75 to 80% of permanent ice having already melted in the last 35 years. Can we lose 75 to 80% of permanent ice and recover? The answer is no. The answer is no, in part because of what scientists call feedback, some of the ways the Earth responds to warming. Among those feedbacks is the release of methane currently trapped in permafrost and under the sea, which will exacerbate warming. Another is the pending collapse of the Greenland ice sheet, which Anderson said will raise sea level by 7 meters, about 23 feet. People at this point haven't come to grips with the irreversibility of the sea level rise problem, Anderson said, displaying a map that shows the site of Harvard's new $10 billion Alston campus inundated after 3 meters of sea level rise. He followed that map with images of Manhattan shrunken by encroaching waters and Florida missing its southern tip. When you look at the irreversibility and you study the numbers, this along with the moral issue is what keeps you up at night, Anderson said. The moral issue. Anderson was awarded Chicago's 2016 Benton Medal for Distinguished Public Service, in part for contributing science that led to the Montreal Protocol, the 1987 international agreement to mitigate damage to the ozone layer. He argued Thursday the physical sciences should take responsibility for preventing environmental catastrophe in the same way the biological scientists have set out to cure cancer. At universities, that means linking the study of physical sciences with global issues like climate change, with government ethics, public policy, and other relevant practices. Hey, like a holistic approach. Is that what you're talking about, James Anderson? That would be very helpful. In Chicago Thursday, he prosecuted a moral argument that implicates university administrators who refuse to divest from fossil fuels, journalists who fail to fact-check false statements made by political candidates, and executives of fossil fuel companies who continue to pursue activities that are exacerbating climate change, especially those who mislead the public about those effects. I don't understand how these people sit down to dinner with their kids, Anderson said, because they're not stupid people. I don't understand how they're not all in jail. But that's another discussion. Oh, look at this. Well, I got a little, hold on one second. Let's see if I can get this. This is what I want to read. On Monday, Canada declared a climate emergency. On Tuesday, it approved a pipeline expansion. Oh, Trudeau, you care. See, Justin Trudeau has actually been proven to be just a liar, basically. I mean, you know, he came in all like, oh, you're so progressive and so young, you know, so cool and hip, and you're just a liar, like all, you know. So far, most of the other progressive politicians that have preceded him, Obama is one name I can think of. Anyways, that's all I'm going to read. I'm going to read the headline, and that's all I'm going to read for you. I'm going to link it below. You can read the rest, but you know, you get the idea. This is another article. A starving polar bear wanders into Russian city of Norilsk, hundreds of miles from home. I'm going to really just link this below, but this is a very sad story. So, not hundreds of miles, like literally 1,000 miles from home. This is the video. The video says the bear walked 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles. looking for food. So if you want to know the future of human beings, um, look at starving whales beaching themselves on the west coast of the U.S. and Canada. Look at starving polar bears wandering into cities looking for food. That's us. That's our future. Pretty soon, unfortunately. This is more news on India. India's sixth biggest city is almost entirely out of water. This is from June 19th. The floor of the Chembarambakam Reservoir is cracked open, dry, and sunbaked. About 25 kilometers away in Chennai, India's sixth largest city, millions of people are running out of water. Chembarambakam and the three other reservoirs that have traditionally supplied Chennai are nearly all dry. Leaving the city suffering from an acute water shortage, said Jayaram Venkatesan, an activist in the city. Due to an inability to collect sufficient rainwater combined with low groundwater levels, the Tamil Nadu state government has been struggling to provide water to residents. With the reservoirs dry, water is being brought directly into Chennai neighborhoods in trucks. Every day, hundreds of thousands of residents have no choice but to stand in line for hours in soaring summer temperatures, filling dozens of cans and plastic containers. Good Lord. And yes, this is an article on CNN. But you just don't see this like on the news. I haven't on the TV. They don't want to bum people out. Anyways, and moving on, I'm going to finish this up with an article from The Guardian. Extinction Rebellion's tactics are working. It has pierced the bubble of denial. This is from June 10th, 2019. Extinction Rebellion is working. A YouGov poll last week showed that the protests by the Direct Action Group, as well as those of millions of children led by Greta Thunberg, have sent public concern about the climate crisis to record levels. So this is the point. This is the point of these protests. They know it's bad. They know how bad it is. They understand. They're just saying, hey, perhaps we could spend, what little time we have left, being honorable and doing the right thing. Extinction Rebellion shouldn't have to exist. It only does because most of the media and government have failed. Despite NASA warning, we faced global disaster as far back as 1988. The media has taken an emperor's new clothes approach. It has conveyed what Sir David Attenborough calls our greatest threat in thousands of years with the urgency of a quiche recipe on a daytime TV show, and with a detachment that suggests it doesn't believe what it is saying. For years, it has told us the most you can do is recycle plastic and unplug your phone charger, but that this hasn't worked. Or change your light bulbs is another one. Last year, global emissions were the highest on record. Meanwhile, the scientific warnings have been coming louder and louder. The world's leading climate scientists has urged parents to take to the streets. Extinction Rebellion has pierced the bubble of denial. By giving talks to local communities across the country, it has humanized this crisis. Instead of flatly explaining that sea levels will rise, diseases will spread, and crops will fail, it has made clear this is about our children and us. It has expressed grief for our kids, for wildlife, for nature, and fear at the degrading of the systems that keep us alive. Paradoxically, by stating the terrible truth, it has created authentic hope for the first time. It has been the small child brave enough to step forward, pointing at the naked king, stating the reality that all life on Earth is under threat, even the families of journalists and MPs, and only a mass mobilization of people across the world will force our deluded leaders to act. Where's the lie? That's the fucking truth, right? If we have any chance at all, that's the problem. Is there's plenty of plans, there's plenty of ideas, there's lots of people thinking and working on this. The problem that's in the way is, mobilizing millions and billions of people to go, oh, let's do something different, bunny rabbit. With that knowledge, thousands have stepped forward and taken to the streets to cause the peaceful disruption. It seems the only way to get the media to focus on a story that should have led the news from the moment they knew the facts until this nightmare is solved. The battle is not yet won. 2 weeks ago, when more than 1 million school kids protested for their lives, the BBC News website gave greater priority to a story about the dangers of dog leads. When Philip Hammond suggested £11 trillion pounds is too high a price to ensure the future of our children, serious commentators nodded in agreement. Who's going to pay for it? Your kids, you psychopathic fuckwads. It seems that the terrifying reality of what we are facing has not yet hit home. There are still too many people in positions of power who believe that if they state that the situation is not dire, then that makes it so. These people cannot see that the disruption we face now is nothing compared with the coming fury from a nation of parents realizing that the science, certain for a very long time but presented constantly with doubt, means that if the worst case scenario comes to pass, their children may not live past middle age. This week, Penguin published the group's first book, This Is Not a Drill. The Penguin logo on the cover is dead and horizontal. It's not Extinction Rebellion or Greta Thunberg it wants us to listen to. It's the scientists who have been yelling at us for the last 30 years. If that message can hit home to people in positions of influence, then it may yet prove to be the movement that saved us all from ourselves. If not, we face a reality so terrible no one can comprehend it. No one can comprehend it. That's all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time.